What's up guys, welcome to my exploration of what it would sound like if we took the more experimental tracks from Blink-182's two recent studio albums, threw them in a blender, and spit out a new playlist of cohesive sounding tracks. I did this with more classic sounding Blink tracks also, so you can check out that video here. I've also linked both Spotify playlists in the description below. So I've taken my favorite experimental, unconventional Blink tracks, threw them in a blender, and generated this playlist. Let's check it out. So I mentioned this in the last video, but I had to put the first time on both of these playlists. I love this song as an opener for 9, and I love the subtle drum programming in the pre-chorus. It's like they're trying to test our appetites a bit for some evolution on the album without fully straying away from the classic Blink sound. No Heart to Speak of is easily my favorite track on the new album. I love the soul this song has. Couldn't say enough about this track in my album review of 9, so check that review out if you want more of my thoughts on this track. 6 8 was dubbed by the band as the strangest song they've ever recorded because of the time signature the song's played in. The drum work in the verse is amazing, and I love Skiba's scream vocals in the background. This is easily one of my favorite Blink-182 songs out there. Misery is actually a kind of classic sounding song, but it didn't fit in very well with the other playlists, which had a lot of punk bangers. The bridge of this song contains some of my favorite Blink-182 lyrics. 15 times a day when you check your phone and I won't be there and you're all alone because we always lived on the edge of oblivion. That's just good stuff. Runway has a cool hip-hop vibe with this insanely powerful and catchy chorus that has kind of a self-titled vibe to it. I absolutely love this track. I wasn't super into Heaven at all when I first heard the album, but after repeated listens, this track has actually become one of my favorites. I listened to this album yesterday for 4 hours straight while driving, and for some reason I just could not get enough of this song. San Diego actually has a very similar picking intro to Heaven, so I thought it made sense to place this song after that track. The song has like a darker sort of self-titled vibe to it. I think it blends the experimental and classic vibes of 9 nicely, so it works great alongside all of these tracks. Good Old Days really snuck up on me. I wrote this song off when I first heard the deluxe edition of California, but it's really grown on me, and it's actually one of my favorite new tracks. I love the vocal melody in both the verse and chorus, and I also love the lyrics. Don't want to live a life of cell phone memories is such a classic line. Again, this one blends new elements with a more classic sound, with the synth intro and outro. Black Rain is easily one of my favorites on the new album. My only gripe is that it's quite short, and most of the track is really just Matt's chorus being repeated. I would have loved if the song was longer and had more verse content where all the electro stuff is thrown in. Bottom of the Ocean is a super dark track that would absolutely never work on California alongside most of the other tracks. This song actually feels like it would fit in perfectly on 9. The drumming sounds like it's mostly done with programming, aside from the chorus, and it just works so well, especially the second verse. Who would have thought that electro drumming and palm muting would work so nicely together? I put Dark Side on this playlist because I didn't think it was very classic Blink. If I heard this track on a classic album, I would pretty much accuse them of selling out and just shut it off immediately. However, it has some classic elements like the pre-chorus and the vocal melody, but with a new fresh twist. Hey I'm Sorry was a very good Skiba track that has this weird sort of dancey intro that would absolutely never work on a classic Blink album. There's also some cool piano in this track that I think would really alienate classic fans, but it's really beautiful and enhances the lyrics on this track. Los Angeles honestly freaked me out when I first heard it on California, but it reminds me of Violence from the self-titled album, which has this really weird industrial vibe to it, and the chorus was a Skiba highlight for me. In my review of 9, I talked in detail about Hung Over You and how it also freaked me out a lot. I didn't think the chorus was enough to keep me coming back, but that is so not the case now that I've listened to this again and again. I love this track now, but man, if I heard this song as a teenager listening to Blink, it would be game over. I wasn't super into Remember to Forget Me, but I do think it's worth having on this playlist just because of all the different genres I think this song combines. I don't think it's super effective overall, but it is an interesting listen. And California I think is such a great closer. It's kind of dark yet optimistic sounding at the same time, and the lyrics are just so great. I'd throw in Last Train Home as like a B-side on this playlist because I think it's kind of neat. I just don't listen to it very often. The chorus is just a little bit too dramatic for me, I think. Blame It On My Youth is also not really a track I like to come back to because I just can't stand the chorus. You'll notice that I did not include I Really Wish I Hated You because I have very, very strong feelings against that track. I tried to give it a chance, but I feel like they just took every cliche breakup phrase and threw it into the song. Mark also sings mostly in his lower range, and the vocal melodies just don't really work for me. I've compared this to like a modern Taylor Swift song, and I really do stand by that. If you listen to some of her newer stuff, this would totally fit right in. Having said that, I feel like a lot of you would probably put this track somewhere on this playlist. So where would you put it? Some of the unconventional experimental tracks on California in the deluxe edition are some of my favorites, and I loved a large chunk of these on 9 as well. I've mentioned that I think Blink tried to play it a little bit safe on California because of the introduction of Skiba as Tom's replacement, which is also why I think we saw so many experimental tracks on the deluxe edition of that album. I think they were literally just too scared to put those tracks on the album because they were worried that Skiba would take all the backlash for any sort of evolution in sound that the band displayed on that album. Are there any tracks that you don't think belong in here? Any that you think are missing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I had a lot of fun making these videos. I hope you guys enjoyed them, and thanks for watching.